Watchmen, The Dark Knight Returns, Kingdom Come. You know, one thing that I noticed that's similar about all of these comics is that they are published by DC. Now, I'm not saying that Marvel doesn't have fantastic comics. I think that some of the newer stuff is decent. Civil War is the one that I think of mostly when I think of modern Marvel comic books. But looking through the history, it always seems, to me at least, that DC has done the best at having dark, gritty, thought-provoking stories. But what if I told you that before Kingdom Come, before Dark Knight Returns, and before Watchmen, Marvel had already made a series that turned the superhero genre on its head? Don't believe me? Well, I just so happen to have it with me. Today we'll be talking about Marvel Comics' Squadron Supreme. Now, Watchmen came out in 1986. This, Squadron Supreme, came out in 1985, about over a year right before Watchmen came and shattered the comic book world. Before we actually get into talking about the comic itself, I just want to point out that the version I have has this cover. You'll notice it looks an awful lot like Kingdom Come, because it's the same artist, Alex Ross, who did the entire art story. He did the cover for this reprint. But if you look in the comic itself, it does have that classic 1980s comic book style. Not necessarily a turnoff, but I would just say don't be fooled. What I like about Squadron Supreme is very similar to Watchmen, where it takes place completely separate of the main Marvel universe for the most part. And it deals with a team of superheroes that have no relation to any existing heroes, except for maybe a one-shot here and there. I do believe that Squadron Supreme was introduced into the Marvel Comics before they had their own spin-off. When going through, you'll notice there are a lot of similarities from Marvel's Squadron Supreme and to DC's Justice League. The characters are very, very, very similar. The way that I describe Squadron Supreme is that what if Marvel had their own Justice League and also started to have that dark twist that Justice League would later be known for? The story starts off in the aftermath of a cataclysmic event. That event is that the Squadron Supreme, the superhero team of the entire world and mainly based in America, have become mind-controlled by this supervillain. And what they end up doing is they end up destroying a lot of civilization, they do a lot of damage to the world and population, and through the work of Hyperion, who is essentially the Superman character of this series, the rest of the squad mates who have been mind-controlled by this alien warlord have become freed, and they all return to Earth. As they return, the Earth is in shambles. The Batman character of this is called Nighthawk, who becomes the President of the United States. Now, he doesn't reveal his identity that he is this superhero, but essentially when he was under mind control from this evil alien warlord, he did a lot of things and caused a lot of problems with the Earth. And so now, people are, one, not trusting the United States government, and also now not trusting the superheroes. So, the solution to that is that the Squadron makes a deal. They make a deal with the entirety of the Earth, and they say, we will solve the planet's problems within 1 year. And if we can't do it, we will leave and never return. Quite a difficult feat even for the strongest of superheroes. So what ends up happening is that the Squadron Supreme goes off on their quest, and it's not quite as easy as they would expect it to be. Now, this story is not as dark as the Watchmen series or Dark Knight Returns or Kingdom Come or any of the other darker DC stories that have come out recently. But it does have these nodes of darkness, and it did really turn the idea of what a superhero is on its head. The Squadron Supreme is full of good people, very good, strong-willed people. But in order to solve the crisis that's plaguing this Earth within a year, they have to make some decisions that are, well, morally vague. The biggest conflict that comes within the story is that one character, Tom Thumb, he's like the builder of the Squadron Supreme. He builds a device that will psychologically change whoever's put into it to whatever the squadron commands. Now you think to yourself, well, if they're superheroes, obviously they would only turn bad people good. Well, that's kind of where the issue comes in. One of the main squad members, Golden Archer, takes out Lady Lark, who is essentially the Canary. It's like Green Arrow and Canary. And he brainwashes her permanently into loving him unconditionally. He had proposed to her and she turned him down, and he didn't take the rejection very well. And it's with that we see that these superheroes, while being superheroes and having good intentions, they do walk that fine line between morally good and morally bad, and their decisions become more and more questionable as it continues. As an example, they essentially establish a sort of a police state or a totalitarian state it's in their own way. All the people have all of their guns taken away. So even law enforcement has no weaponry. They ration out food. They decide what jobs people will do. They offer work for people, and the biggest thing is that they're taking criminals and brainwashing them with their device, so that what they will do is they will be good and they will resist the urges to essentially do crime. I am not going over all of the details about the story. I think it is best if you read it for yourself, but I will say that not everyone survives till the end. And when I say not everyone, it's not just like one or two characters. Like, a good number of these characters don't survive till the end. And what really impressed me with this comic is how I was able to sympathize with a good number of them in a short 12-volume series. Very similar to how Watchmen has very well-written characters, Squadron Supreme does too. So you may be asking, well, does the Squadron Supreme achieve their goal of fixing all of the world's problems within a year's time? Yes and no. Again, I won't spoil the details. I think it is best read for yourself. But the ending takes a very interesting twist that I didn't see coming. And I was genuinely surprised. It was refreshing to see a story not go quite the way that I thought it was going to. One thing that I do think it could have had more of was maybe push those dark themes a little bit. It was very, very experimental with dealing with certain themes and aspects, such as character death, a permanent character death within a series, and not like just giving for the purpose of moving on a superpower, like someone just dying and the other characters having to live with what happened. I kind of wish it went a little bit deeper into that. I think, well, it is one of the first of its kind, and before the other darker stories that we know that DC made, it doesn't quite hit the points perfectly as it should have. But that doesn't mean the story is bad. I think for a 12-issue series that was made in 1985, I think it's very well written. There's a lot going on between other characters, and there's like the Hyperion side with the Squadron, and the Batman character Nighthawk breaks off to form his own, and they kind of discuss and debate with each other on the morality of what they're doing, and it's genuinely thought-provoking, which I wouldn't expect from a comic that was made back in 1985. So if you're looking for a superhero tale with an interesting cast of characters that you haven't seen before, or has not been spoiled for you before, like Watchmen and Dark Knight Returns, I think I would highly recommend Squadron Supreme. I think it's very, very well written, and I do think it's well worth your time to see where this whole trend of dark story started from. Well, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.